slammed you, he didn't bump you, he didn't nudge you, he rubbed you. And rubbing's son is racing.
And welcome everybody to Locked On iRacing, the interview episode. I'm Peter Wilkinson, and I'm joined tonight by Braden Martin. How you going, mate?
Not too bad. End of a busy week, but it's nice to finally get to the weekend.
That's it. But what I really want to talk about is the person we've got sitting next to us in the virtual interview booth, Alex McKellar, one of the only people Braden hasn't spun last week in this week in Aussie Cars. How you going, Alex?
I'm good, thank you. Looking forward to having a chat and catching up.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good. I've been looking forward to this one for a while, even though we only just booked it in not long ago, filled in a gap we had, which is really good. Thank you for doing that.
That's my pleasure.
Let's start with the easy question. Who is Alex McKellar?
Easy question. Real world. I'm a long-term IT guy. I work in government these days. Really passionate about delivering services to people via the government, which sounds a bit corny, but it's what I do and what I like doing. These days, family man, couple of kids, enjoying that. Love my computer games since I was a kid. And these days, found my way back into sim racing and loving every minute of it.
Yes, you would be. We're from the front. I 100% assume you would be. So, look, let's go. I want to jump into two things there, but we're going to jump into motorsport side of things first. When did the love for motorsport come for you?
It's funny you ask. I was reflecting on this a few times in the last little bit. When I was a little kid, I was born in Bathurst, and I think that...
Another one.
Yeah, back-to-back Bathurst episodes.
Yeah. But I think it was to do with my mother and father's interest in motorsport, because as I was a little kid, they separated and all that sort of stuff. But I used to go out to tracks like Amaroo Park Raceway and Oran Park before they both sort of went the way of the dodo. And I didn't really appreciate what I had, to be honest, but I was a little kid walking around, free rein in the pits and all the rest of it. And after races, for example, I'd hop in the steward's car and do a lap around the track and grab the steward's reports off the flag marshals and all that sort of stuff. And
wow.
And it wasn't until I'm an adult now that I look back on it, I think, wow, that was actually pretty cool. And I didn't have a full appreciation of it. But, since then... now I just seem to have this innate enjoyment of it. So, like I said, it comes from my mother initially, who used to do all the timekeeping, the lap timing, the old days before it was all electronic. They'd have someone sitting there pushing the button as the cars went over the line, like a clicker button, going click, 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 click. And she'd be literally typing in the numbers of the cars as they went by in order, and they'd marry them up together at the end of the race and then handwrite out the results and stick them on the bulletin board and stuff. So it was interesting. That's sort of where my genesis was, and what I think sort of somehow ingrained in me since then, and why I love it now.
So when did you leave Bathurst?
Oh, mate, I was a bub. I don't remember it at all. I grew up in Sydney, really, but so all that
So
time.
do you ever get back to Bathurst, obviously for the 1000 or for any other reasons?
Can I tell you, I've never been. I feel un-Australian in admitting that, but I've never been.
I haven't been either.
Look, I've been back to Bathurst, but I've never been for the race. It's something, I guess, on the bucket list to do, though.
Oh, it transforms that town like nothing else that you've ever seen. It's ridiculous. But I've been there twice now, and I definitely want to go back. I've been planning for the last 3 years to go back. So we'll have to tee it up with a whole heap of people and get there as a group at some stage. But so is it supercars? Was it V8s? Was it GTs? Or was it Formula One? What motorsport have you been into all your life?
Oh, look, the stuff that I watch varies from time to time. These days, I've fallen into the F1 stuff. I really enjoy watching that, the late nights notwithstanding. But the V8s I got into for a little while. It doesn't really grab me as much as the open wheelers, to be honest, and that's reflected in what I race in iRacing as well. So really enjoying the F1s. I'd love to see Danny Rick come a bit better. But having said that, how exciting is that pairing? And then you throw in the Verstappen battle with Hamilton, and you got a season to look forward to, right?
So, yeah, it's been nice to actually see them actually fighting this year. I think last year we saw like at a track or two here and there, they were able to battle pretty hard. But like this season, it's been full on every single race, and it almost feels like Red Bull have the upper hand, which it hasn't felt like for a long time. So I've actually really enjoyed it this season.
100%. Can I tell you what I'm really enjoying too? A couple of seasons ago when Verstappen burst on the scene, I didn't like him. I didn't like the attitude he had. It excuse me. It appeared to be kind of an arrogance. But I think back to my sporting days and what I witnessed. Or what I've just witnessed generally about really elite athletes. They have this confidence that they need, right? They're risk takers. They need to be risk takers, and they're really, really confident. And I think the challenge is sometimes that confidence, it's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And sometimes really confident people and the risk takers and it looks like they're arrogant, but it's really just a high degree of confidence. Sometimes I think it bleeds over, to be fair, but I think either Verstappen's matured or now you can just see that confidence is well founded and all that. But it's kind of a different persona that he carries now, and I've really enjoyed seeing that development. Similar with Norris, Lando when he was racing on iRacing, he did some SNL events with us way back when, and when he used to race the Skippies before he was in F1 land. And you see him, even on Twitch these days, his attitude's different. He was a bit of a troll on the forums at times and all the rest of it, but now he's matured into that professional athlete that he is, and still got a sense of humour and all the rest of it. But seeing those sort of growth in those people has been really cool in the last little bit too.
Yeah, Lando's definitely become one of the most likeable in the field, I reckon, and especially the way he interacts with his audience, like through YouTube and Twitch and things like that. It's definitely marketing-wise, at the very least, is genius.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see a new generation coming through and what that's brought with it. And that connectedness with the internet and Twitch and all the rest of it, that immediacy and that direct interaction, brilliant for the brand, I would have thought, whether it be F1 or the individuals and teams themselves.
Definitely. Now, I want to get back into, you mentioned in your sporting life, what type of sports did you play when you were younger?
Oh,
now?
Yeah. So I'm a bit of a big unit, and I used to play rugby.
Yep.
Yeah, I started in under 9s or under 10s, I think it was, and I played right through to my mid-20s where I sort of fell away from it. But yeah, so 15 or more years of rugby, all sorts of different sports here, there and everywhere. Played at some good levels and had some really good fun with it. Then I drifted away from that, played a bit of basketball. I ended up as kind of, I don't know if you call it a midlife crisis, just before my 40th birthday. I got into mixed martial arts and competed a bit there, and did a few things there, which was really, really fun. And can I tell you, I wish mixed martial arts, MMA, or particularly jiu-jitsu was around when I was a kid, because I think that's what I would have done instead of rugby.
Yep.
Really, really immersive and really engaging, and it's a lot of fun.
Do you follow any of the actual stuff on TV these days of mixed martial arts?
It's funny, whether it be MMA or rugby or whatever, once I stopped doing it, I stopped following it to a large degree. Like, I don't watch much of the footy on, despite, what I did in footy, and with the MMA, I was right into it, and not so much anymore. I do watch it from time to time, some of the big stuff. I think we're a bit oversaturated with the UFC and other things. And the stylistic progression that it's made from the very, very start, where you had the Gracies coming in and doing their thing, and revolutionising what martial arts and mixed martial arts was, through to where it's evolved to today, where it's largely stand-up, and that groundwork is missing a bit. Not as what I'm into when I'm into the jiu-jitsu, but, it's still fun to pop in every now and then when you see the really good high-level grapplers come in, which is what I enjoy.
We could almost do a separate podcast on MMA. I'd love to do that.
There's a lot in there, right?
I've got in a chat with my friends from school, and whenever there's a UFC a day on that just explodes. They're all into it. I'm just like, I don't understand what's going on. So well done to you all. Look, I want to head over to the other side of things you mentioned before, which is the gaming side of things. So what sort of games did you grow up with? Or what were your favourite ones growing up?
Oh, mate, when I was a kid, the best Christmas present I ever got was a Commodore 64.
How good is
Yeah, I know, with a tape drive. And, you want to talk about, copying games and stuff. Dual tape deck, play, record. There's your game copy sort of thing. And I was thinking about it the other day. First, I don't know if you call it a driving game I ever played was Spy Hunter on the C64. Look, I can see you on the screen there with a little...
For those listening and not seeing it, I've got a mini Commodore 64 sitting in my hands right here, just in arm's reach. So yes, I love my old 64.
Yeah, brilliant. So that was where I started getting into it, and from there, I think the first real serious thing was was a PS1, and and then into Gran Turismo a bit from there, which was really the watershed moment for me with driving stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah, something different about that, wasn't there? Something special, which obviously I think it's lost its lost its shine now, I guess. Where I think 3 was its sort of pinnacle, and 4 was slowly doing a downhill trend. But did you get into 2? Get into 3? Is that how many hours did you put into those type of games?
Oh, I did a fair bit into the original Gran Turismo, and then I sort of fell away from it. It's funny, I when we moved house, I pulled out the old PS1 and I plugged it into the, more modern day panel monitor.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, how did I play that thing? It looks like I'm the pixels the size of Lego bricks, like it was just crazy. How did we do it, But
I don't know.
Yeah, crazy.
That's why you don't go back to games like that. Even 2, it looks very different these days.
100%.
So what other racing games have you sort of played in your time? Obviously being a big racing fan now.
Yeah. I spent a bit of time with R Factor, the original one, where you get the original and then there's all that sort of mods and stuff you can download. Ran in some stuff there with a small group of mates, and then some other folk that I see pop up from time to time, even in iRacing to this day. Had a lot of fun in there. Different category. Love the fact that you could pull out. I could literally, I talked about going to Amaru Park Raceway and things like that. I could pull out a mod that had, the old historic minis against Cortinas and all that sort of stuff, and run it around Amaru. And it was brilliant, Spent a fair bit of time doing that, and then again stopped for quite some time until I found iRacing, and I've been doing that for ever since.
Well, it's sort of the next question was going to say, when did you sort of make that dive into sim racing? But obviously it started with the R Factor stuff, but I guess more specifically, when did that jump to iRacing start?
Oh, so I'm just thinking back. I'm going to say 2015. 2015 is about when I started iRacing, and just been gradually grinding my way through trying to improve along the way. Found the skips, and I've got to tell you, I've been doing the skips for so it's only 6 years. So I'm going to say it's 5 out of those 6 years. Just found what I enjoyed and stuck with it. It's been really good.
Were you instantly hooked when you got onto iRacing? Was it something that straight away you sort of fell into, or did it take a while to warm up to it?
What grabbed me with iRacing, apart from the driving and the first time I hop in and you go, what do you mean there's no third person view and all that sort of stuff, it's, this is a serious business here. I love the numbers and the stats and all that. So you go compete, and then there's 35 different ways you can analyze your race, and then and they call it a career, right? And you can go on your profile page and you can see everything, all those numbers there, and that really draws me in almost as much as the racing itself. And then you talk about the racing, just been no better experience, particularly when you find that category that you connect with, and I'm pleased to say that I have with the skips. I mean, you look at some of the racing we have in Aussie Car, or you find the right group of people that you race with regularly, in whatever official race you're doing. There's just no better feeling than being able to run side by side with a guy. There's a guy I race with from Panama, or there's a guy I race with, several guys in the US or Europe, and you know who they are, you know how they race, and you two have this or half dozen of you even have this mutual respect, at least, just those experiences that keep you coming back. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. I think that's the best thing about Aussie Car is having the same guys come back season after season for the last 5-6 seasons for me, for sure. And just, you know who you can trust really well. You know who you might still need to be a little bit more wary of here and there, but that's what allows you to have those great races and make less mistakes, because you know where you stand within the field. It makes it a lot better.
Absolutely. Those times, those opportunities that you get, those moments where you've sat, you got a 10-lap race or whatever, and 8 of those laps you sit there setting up, picking your marks and all the rest of it. And then those moments in there in the last couple of laps, or maybe throughout the race, where you can just really throw it in and really do those things that racing, I imagine, in real life is what it's like. I've never done it, but, I feel like this is the closest you can get.
So in the last Aussie car, going into the last lap, did you accidentally make a missed corner and let Snell go into the lead with two or three corners to go?
Not at all. Not at all.
That was a legitimate mistake, was it?
Yeah. Like, I was, and we've talked about it. I said in the post race as well, the 0x or the bonus points this season have really changed the way I race. I know how important the points are. I want to hang on to them, and if I've got the 0x, and then you had, as you say, Ben beside me, who'd already racked up a few, so he was free to race liberally and like full on out there. But honestly, so if you look at the guys that we race with, and I know there's pockets of discords and groups around the place, so I think there was 5 or 6 of us in Discord last night. A couple of them sit muted, so there's no conversation at all. They want to focus and concentrate. But no, we race.
Name names. Shame them.
Well, typically it's
Donald. It's Donald.
It is Donald. Yeah, it is.
I went to watch your stream to hear what you guys are saying. I'm like, he's got everyone muted. I can't even hear it anyway.
Yeah, Donald mutes because he's he wants to focus, I think. Plus, he's streaming as well. Ben won't mute so much, as he'll be on push to talk a lot, whereas a lot of us have open mics. Russell sometimes mutes, particularly during quali and stuff like that, or some races he'll mute the whole way. I'll mute during quali because I want to try and do well at that. Yeah. But look, we race. In the race, particularly in the middle stages, you might, how are we going to get around the track the fastest if we're together? Right, but when it comes down to it, I mean, Ben and I, in both races, Ben and I were side by side through the last chicane, or John Scholz and I were side by side through the last chicane. There was no gentlemen's agreements. In fact, I give Ben an accidental hurry up through the final corner in the second race, and we both nearly gave a cropper.
How many of those conversations include, can we get this pesky chastity away from all these green cars?
It might have been mentioned every now and then, but then, I tell you what did get mentioned this week, the green on his car disappeared. What's going on there?
That was only a joke thing. Look, okay, so where it started was we're doing the new liveries, and I'm like, mate, do you just want some green? Actually, I think I just painted it green, and I said, flicked it through. I said, is that going to make you faster? And he goes, I'm using that. I don't care what you say. I'm using that. And then we both agreed that we prefer seeing the different colour in there. So that's why we pulled it back, because it just looked too samey. But yeah, that was a full joke. Just trying to make him go faster and get that win that he's always after.
Yeah. So, he's racing. Yeah. He's racing well. Like when we started racing, like, it was interesting, you and Ira did that that driver school explanation to me the other day, and one thing that resonated strongly with me, because it's how I like to race, is, I was talking about battling and just the seconds that you lose here, you don't get back, and it's all about the total time that it takes to get from flag to flag, right? So if you watch last night's race, particularly the second one where there's 5 or 6 of us together, the draft and the way the skippy is at the moment, there's not a lot of advantage depending on the track to leapfrogging. And sometimes the fastest way around is just line astern. And the idea is that you want to get the flag to flag as quick as you can. And James, he will race you a lot. And sometimes, I know I will back off and I'll let him go. And then it's only if he makes a mistake and it's quicker to go past and things like that. But I've noticed James seems to have changed a bit too. And I was really impressed I watched his stream after the Montreal race. And, he's really controlled. He was right into it, and that blown engine, you can see what it meant to him and the passion there, and that's always great to see.
I didn't mind it.
See, it gets 2 free positions out of it right at the end. Nice. Look, one of my favourite parts of Aussie Car at the moment is, so we pretty quiet during the races, as you can probably see. Like, I talk a fair bit, maybe one or two others talk a bit. We don't mute. We have that respect for each other, but in practice, it's open leather. No one's concentrating. Everyone's just having a full just chat and having a crack. There's 15 jokes made about Chastity's blown engine during practice this week. So that family aspect we've got going there is really good, and I think he's enjoying that, and that's he's enjoying his races. But you can hear him talk about that second race about a lap out. He's like, I'm in the position I want to be. I'm going to get second here. And then he just lined it up all race, all that last lap, and then just made the move where he exactly wanted to make it and got second place, like you were talking about before, lining things up. He just has that mind. So, but we're not here to talk about him. We're not. We already yes, go.
I was just going to have to say as well, if for some reason Donald is listening, I also take myself out of the group chat in the Discord. I go hang out with whoever my teammate is, because I just can't concentrate with that many people. So
Braden and Bernie do sit in their little corner at the moment, but and then we've got people like Black Sheep Racing who sit in there and then mute themselves and not realise they're muted, and at the end of the race go, "Oh, I've been muted this whole time." Okay, cool. But yeah, look, it is good fun. But I think Braden wants to ask you what your current rig looks like. Oh, right. Yeah. So, sorry, I just turned around to look at it. I don't know if that went quite. So I run. I have an Abuto 3 Revolution. It's a tubular steel kind of jobby, which is really, really good. I replaced the seat on it after several years. So like I said, I'm a big unit and I wanted a bit more comfort. I've got Husky pedals, which I invested in some time ago, which have been great. I need to oil them up. They're a bit... Just quickly, what was the difference you found when you chucked them on?
So I graduated slowly from a G25 to a Thrustmaster I bought a second-hand set of entry-level Fanatic load cell pedals. So it was a gradual progression. But the engineering on them is brilliant. The customer service is great. But the difference for me, and I think you'll hear a lot of people say it, is about consistency and confidence in the braking zone, which is just so important. I mean, we had a conversation around braking after the V's race in the Aussie Car Discord, and I made the comment that Chaz Mostert was in there, and I did, I don't know, it was 3 or 4 laps in practice with him. Just because that's where we found ourselves on the track, and I thought, oh, good, I'm not going to be a tool about it, but I'll sit there and see what it's about. And I was astounded at how he seemed to brake later, carry more speed, and yet was just so smooth through the corners, like it was just another level, right? And it just shows you how much A, you got to learn, and B, technique and all the rest of it plays a part in it. But in answer to your original question, for me it was about consistency and confidence in the braking zones, and developing a more natural type of muscle memory, because braking, particularly when you're learning a track and when you're trying to get consistent and be faster through that consistency, I think is about muscle memory. Like any sport, I think you want to be able to go into a braking zone not having to think about the application of force. It just happens, right? And I think the load cell helps with that because of you got a potentiometer where it's distance, whereas a load cell is about measuring force. So I think that helps with that, and that's certainly what I found.
Great. So now I definitely have to go purchase those sprints that I've been eyeing off for the last 2 weeks.
I was gutted, like I got the old ones before the sprints came out, and they literally arrived about a week before the sprints were announced. No. I was spewing because the pedals themselves, the shaft on them that comes up to the plate is actually quite long compared to the sprints, and so the angle of them, and I find sometimes I have to use my toes rather than the ball of my foot, so I've had anyway. I was spewing.
Anyway, back to your rig. Where did I stop?
Oh yeah, brakes. So we did the pedals. I invested in a Fanatic direct drive DD1, which was brilliant. The fidelity in that is amazing. I don't mind the strength. I turn it quite down unless I'm driving the V's, which feel like driving a wet sponge unless you pump it right up. And the fidelity on that in terms of catching stuff early is brilliant. And again, consistency with that has been great. And a couple of months ago, I picked up a VR headset, and I've just started racing with that, and that's another level. I borrowed a mate's headset a few years ago to see what this VR thing was about, and I did the race, and I could see the benefits of it. I could see the depth perception and the where the cornering was, the apexes and all the rest of it. I could see that really, really good, but I didn't think the technology was there. I still think it's not quite there, but it's come far enough where I'm willing to dive into it. And can I say the immersion of it is just absolutely another level. I don't run many overlays or anything anymore. I used to run JRT and all that sort of stuff. Now I just have the relative box up and that, and I feel like I'm driving a car. Like I feel like I've got a helmet on, and I'm just there. It's brilliant.
What headset did you go for in the end?
I got a Pimax 8K Plus. I found off a guy at Gumtree who bought it thinking that it was going to be the next best thing, and then he decided it just wasn't for him, and I picked it up for, I don't know, a few $100 less than it should have been, and the delivery, getting it from overseas and all the rest of it, it was just great. I literally drove around the corner and there was a bloke with a headset. It was brilliant.
Wow. And what were you on before that? Did you have triples, or were you on just a single?
I had the ultra wide 49, and can I tell you that's a brilliant investment as well. I bought that a few years ago when they came out, and I thought it's slightly less field of view than the triples, but I thought it was well worth the investment as well.
Definitely. And anything else on that rig that we need to know about?
I picked up a second-hand Derek Spears button box, which is pretty groovy. A little bit harder to do by feel these days with the headset, but we get there. But other than that, no, I think that's about it, mate.
Very good. Now, I guess you kind of answered this a little bit. So I said I had a question down here. You're a master in Skippy at the moment. You're currently leading the hashtag Green Wall domination of Aussie Car. I heard on the Discord chat the other night. So obviously you said the Skippy's always been there. I guess what are some of your other cars of choice?
It might be a surprise. Oh, I suppose it wouldn't be. My favourite car is actually the old Pro Mazda. And it was kind of, when I found it, it was already a dead car. So I never really got to race it much. Did a few league events and stuff in it. But that car's brilliant. And for some reason, I just clicked with it. But I used to run in a league that's no longer around, the Friday Night Race Club. And we used to do 5 races on a Friday night of different cars, different tracks. And then on a Saturday night, we'd all rock up for the Bathurst 200, which was a different car each week for a couple of hours at Bathurst. And that was brilliant. You got a taste of almost anything. We ran everything from Legends through to, the high-powered, the Lotus 79. That was fun around there. But ultimately, I really think of myself as a one-trick pony. The skips are sort of what I've stuck with, and where I feel most comfortable, and obviously what I enjoy the most in terms of regular racing.
So we got you on for obviously many reasons. Your driving skill is one of them. That we know you through Aussie Car and all that kind of stuff as well. But Sunday Night Lights, we've just joined, sort of partnered with you guys on that, sort of to get you to help us out in covering the results a lot better, and give that series a bigger shine from our end anyway on the podcast. So this is what we really want to talk about mainly tonight. One of the big chunks we want to talk about anyway. But where did Sunday Nights come about?
Interesting. So originally it was Monday Night Lights. We used to do it on a Monday. I have to sort of throw back and credit to the original guys that started it out. You guys, I don't know if you're aware of Double R TV, which was run by the great man Bernie Weemers. And there were a few guys there that got together and literally did what you guys are doing with the Vs, and got together and said, hey, let's make a soft race and get people in and make something of it. And Bernie Weemers, who way back in the early days of sim racing broadcasting and that, stood up Double R TV. It was part of the Redback Racing team, and there was their broadcasting thing. And there were some other guys there like Richard Craig and Dylan Francis and some of these other really regular skippy drivers at the time who pulled together and started doing commentary and stuff on these races. And so that was way back in, I think it was 2015, towards the end of 2015. And from there, they did a couple of seasons. I actually raced in the second season of it. We're up to, if you combine MNL and SNL together, we're up to season 24 this season. I raced in the second one. And after that, that was sort of where I got hooked on the skippies. And it seemed to sort of peter away a bit. And then I actually started commentating with Bernie on Double R TV in season 6 of Monday Night Lights. We did it together for about 5 seasons, which was brilliant. And then Bernie sort of stepped back. He wanted to go in different directions and move away a bit from the broadcasting. So I sort of took over the mantle at Double R TV for Monday Night Lights as it was then. And then from about, I'm going to say, middle of 2018, no, it was actually, I beg your pardon, it was late 2018, no, mid to late. I took over the broadcasting on my Twitch/YouTube channels, Top Split TV. And we've been there ever since till we cut over, 2019, we cut over to Sunday Night Lights to try and draw a bigger, stronger field. And we've been kicking goals since then. It's been great.
Yeah, definitely have been. Some of the ones recently, you were almost about to crack the 5K, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Obviously you've been doing it for a long time, as we just talked about, but is there any memorable moments that have stood out for you in either Monday or Sunday Night Lights over those years?
Yep. The first one I ever sat in the commentary booth, co-commentator with Bernie, was at Lime Rock Park. Like I said, back in 2016 it was. Just the nerves I had and the, can I do this? Who am I to be doing this? And just, but going there at a sense of wanting to help build and the community and invest in the community, because I like seeing, the community grow and enjoy that sort of thing. And I thought it brought a lot to it. So that was one moment that stood out. In terms of racing, though, there've been so many great battles. There was a race at Phillip Island a few seasons back. Phillip Island has remarkably great racing in the skippies.
It does.
Yeah, it really, really does. And there was a race there where I think we had 16 drivers out of the 18 in one pack. And if it was a 10-lap race, it was for 8 laps of that 10, right? To give you a sort of sense of it. And with skippy racing, you can have these big packs and they can, if you're smart about it, you can change positions and shuffle. I call it shuffling the decks in those packs without it busting up into separate groups, which can happen as well, right? And to see that happen, and you didn't know where to look because there were overtakes happening left, right, and centre, and it was just the epitome of what Skippy racing could be. That one really stood out in terms of the overall group of races and the standard that you can get in good Skippy races. But I guess from an individual drive, there was a race a couple of seasons ago. Benny Simonson failed to qualify at Mosport, and he literally started last on the grid and drove through the field to win it. And just an outstanding drive, and from an outstanding driver. You know, those are probably the three things that I could think of that stood out the most if I thought about it.
Okay, so you've been broadcasting now for a bit. How has broadcasting changed over all that time?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, some parts of it have changed, some parts of it haven't. I think if I think about streaming in general, like I used to stream my races, and you know, I'm not an old man of the world or whatever, but it's changed a lot in that when I was started, there was not the volume of people streaming it. It wasn't as an easy entry point to get into it, I guess, in terms of the technology. The tools have changed. They've made it a lot easier to get into it. And so there's a lot more people streaming in general and a lot more broadcasters. There's a lot more people doing it, I think, sim racing, particularly in the COVID period. So there's a lot more people doing it. I think the tools have changed a little bit, but they haven't, because it's still a niche kind of thing. The tools haven't advanced to the point where they're, you know, really streamlined and really polished. When I started with Bernie, he was using what was it called? AR. Anyway, he was using a tool. I can't remember what it was called. And he would to get the overlays to work, he'd be editing code almost on the fly during broadcasts sometimes, which is phenomenal when you think about it, right? Then I helped him, and we moved into a tool called ATVO, which is what I think SimSpeed still uses, and you know, I built some themes in that, and I'm not a developer by any means, but I put together some themes and some animated themes when they brought that in. And can I tell you, there's a lot of work in that. I have the utmost respect for what the SimSpeed guys are doing over there.
I've been mucking around with it in the background at the moment, just for some things that I'm working on. But it's nuts. How much everything else as technology has grown in so many other areas, but broadcasting is just like they're still stuck with this. Is just crazy that they can do what they do with it, especially SimSpeed. Like Jay is just phenomenal with what he works with.
Absolutely, and I've really appreciated Jay's done a few things in that space. Like he put up a tutorial on YouTube. It went for like an hour and a half or whatever, right? And the tool itself's moved on, but a lot of the concepts in there are quite relevant. And I thought, you know, that's really generous of Jay to expose that and you know, how he does it and all the rest of it. And he's done a few things like that. And I saw him put up a stream on his SADS channel where he showed the behind the scenes as he was doing a broadcast, and can I tell you, I don't know if you saw it, but it's absolutely every bit as busy as that, right? I've gone down to two monitors. I've got a fairly widescreen one, not the 49, but and then I have a second screen up top, and there's no real estate. Like it's all taken up by stuff, right? And I do the obviously the commentary. I also do the broadcasting and the production and all that stuff on the fly. And I know there are circumstances where Jay does that, and I don't know if I'm, you know, ADHD or whatever, but it sort of fills up my brain, you know, and it's sometimes I boggle my mind that I can actually do it because you're thinking about so many things, and that's kind of where I guess the tools are at and all the rest of it. But I actually ended up transitioning to the SDK solution, which is done by Apex Racing, and like you pay an annual fee, and it comes out of the box, and it has a lot of capability built into it. But again, you look at it, and it's functional. It's not pretty, it's not polished, and you have to edit code and all that sort of stuff. So going back to your original question, how's it changed? I'd say the tools are improving. They're not quite there. it's still a large bit of grassroots about it. But when you think about, and I look at some of the commentators and listening to you guys talk to some of the SimSpeed guys and you know where they're headed and having the opportunity to do this kind of stuff is really cool at a grassroots level, and I could see it leading to a lot of stuff for a lot of people, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Have you always enjoyed commentating, or is that something that SNL really, or Monday Night Lights really brought out of you?
I never thought I could do this sort of stuff, mate, honestly. I never thought it a million years. But it came back to me wanting to sort of foster the community or help the community around that. And it's one of the things I really, really enjoy. And I was thinking about it the other day, what was analogous to it. And I thought about it, you know, we've been doing this for a number of years now. And the community's kind of had people drift in and drift out of it. You see, it's really exciting to see young guys come through. When I say young guys, I don't know how old they are, right? They're all over the world, but they're new to skips, for example, or new to iRacing, and you see them go from third to second to first split. Some guys have done that in really quick fashion, and they've won it, the overall season and the official championship and all the rest of it. See, that's pretty cool. I thought about it maybe being like, you know, your local pub or something where people come in and come out of the community at different times, but there's a connection there, and people, when they come there, they race hard. They come there with a bit of excitement, like we do on a Thursday night to an Aussie car. You know, you build up to it all week, and there's guys in there as well who've I'm going to say these days never make the top split. They're never going to, because it's sort of grown the way it has, but they turn up and they race. And there's guys, you know, there's a guy, Mark Jeffrey, I don't know if you know Mark, I think he might have even done an Aussie car season, right? And
he definitely has. Yeah.
You know, I've messaged.
He's in about every official that I jump into for some reason as well.
Yeah, you know, he absolutely is, you know, and I contacted him about something the other day, and he won his round. He won the third split at Bathurst a couple of seasons ago, and I wrote to him, and he was just, you know, he said this is his F1. This is his, you know, thing each week that he comes and does, and you know, and he did it again in a post in this season's thread on the forums, and he said, you know, SNL is the absolute highlight of his iRacing week. Right, and he got a win in the third split this week, you know. And if I can give that much enjoyment to someone on a weekly basis through an hour of my time, and it's more than just him, there's other guys in there that get the same enjoyment, then you know that's enough for me, and I'm really pleased to be doing it.
I got that enjoyment when I finally made the top split one time over the Christmas holidays. Last year, only to find out that Top Split TV had taken the week off over Christmas.
Sorry about that.
Never made it back again.
Well, can I tell you, you know, you've been practicing hard this season, and you're well up there in the top 5. If that's where you want to be, mate, bit of time invested in those officials, and you'll be right there. And there's some really, like, I don't know how you describe it. It's heart racing, you know, the racing in there. Like, it really gets the nerves going. You look at someone like Donald when he first got in there, and you can see the nerves on his stream and all the rest of it. And like I said, to be able to give that experience to someone just through streaming a race like that is just brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Who are some of the best drivers you've seen come through the Sunday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights series? Obviously, you said Lando Norris earlier. Yeah, pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's right.
So you made Lando.
That's completely on me. Yeah. We've had obviously some real world guys come through. Oscar Piastri raced with us a few seasons ago. He's doing well in the F2s at the moment. Obviously, Benny Simonson's the class of the field at the moment. He's just a cut above. Really impressive guy. And he was another one of these guys that came in at the start, and he kind of seemed to jar a bit with the community in terms of how he raced and all the rest of it. But and I've seen that, or I feel like I've observed that with some of the real world races that come in. But he's sort of I don't know whether he changed stuff or everyone adjusted or whatever it was, but he's really community oriented as well, and he comes back but in terms of his racing, he's a cut above at the moment. He's the class. I don't know if you know, but he's done a lot of real world racing. He's a 24-hour Spa winner in a GT car. I think it's the sports car category. He's got the lap record at Bathurst in a Ferrari. So like the man knows how to steer, and he's a good fella to boot. You know, I was thinking about it the other day. There's some guys in the field at the moment who are just a cut above. Benny's one of them, and he's probably the standout at the moment. Manu Luqueta, who's joined us again this season, I call him Big Breaks because he was one of these guys that came on the scene a couple of seasons ago and just had a meteoric rise. But his first race was at VIR, and into the first corner, he somehow managed to break 3 car lengths better than everyone else. It looked like he took this massive dive, but anyway, Big Breaks was born. You guys have raced with Christian Perez. He's an outstanding driver, and brilliant, really, really good. There's a guy who doesn't race so much with us anymore, Sami Toikala. He's interesting. He's a Finnish fella, and he's really good quality. You know, we've had a couple of really good Aussies in there too. Benjamin Smith won the season a few seasons ago, and he was an absolute standout. But and you know, that was a three ANZ clubbies on the podium for that season. Ben Smith, John Scholz, and Russell Clark, if you can believe it. Those 3 were up there. Only a few seasons ago, right?
Back in his heyday.
Yeah, I know. But then, you know, there's a heap of people. You know, Luke Whitten joined the race this week. He was in the second split, but he's won a 2K Cup race, and that is literally the premier race for the skips, right? And to have an ANZ guy win a race there was brilliant, you know. So I'm hoping that we get a few more of the ANZ folks back, and you know, through the partnership that you guys have with us now as well, hoping to raise that profile and get the local community back into it a bit more.
I heard that after this week, my nickname is going to be No Breaks, so it's a little bit different. Oh, on that, I was going to say, have you got a bit of a call out for all the Oz and New Zealand drivers out there to try and come reclaim that SNL title after, or take it away from all these pesky European speedsters? Yeah,
absolutely. Because, you know, we have had some good ANZ guys in there. Like I said, Ben Smith a few seasons ago. I'm thinking about Tim Gorcrotcher. He's another fella. He's
he did a Skippy season. I reckon he was in the first season of Aussie Car Skippies.
He was.
Yeah.
It was my biggest memory of him was when he got into Lime Rock and decided not to qualify for the second race because he was that much quicker than everyone else and just wanted to race through the field and still won by like seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he's that quick. He's just sort of tapered off in his interest for it, you know. He won a season. Luke Whitten, the guy I mentioned before, he's won a couple of seasons. You know, but again, I think that we built this platform, as I call it, to showcase both Skippy racing, but to give the ANZ guys a chance to get out there, not only to compete against the best, but to build, you know, the ability for them to win the official championship and get all those points each week, because that's how you do it. You know, the community comes together, decides a time that they're going to race so that you can maximise your points towards the official championship. You get the big I rating, and the best part of all is you get the best racing. You know, you get to test yourself against the best in the world.
And that's the one thing about iRacing in general that I probably think is the coolest thing. Like, there's nowhere else where you can literally participate in something as close to the real thing as iRacing is to real life racing, but also against people who do it at the highest level. Like, you don't get to run out in an AFL football field and play against Dusty Martin or Buddy Franklin or whoever it may be. But like, as we saw on Wednesday night, you can run in a league where Chas Mostert turns up and races with you. Like, it's pretty crazy.
iRacing's brilliant for that. You know, like you say, from my own personal experience, I've raced with Verstappen, I've raced with Norris, I've raced with Shane Van Gisbergen, who's just seems to be this amazing guy in terms of contributing to the community and wanting to buy into it. It's great. You know, I've raced against Rubens Barrichello and all these people who just, you know, obviously love it. But as you say, where else could you do that than on something like this, right?
Absolutely. What's the plan for SNL in the future?
Yeah, look, I would really like to add some greater production quality to things, improve what I do in terms of whether it be, you know, those picture-in-picture replays or overlay stuff. I think the time it takes is just something I need to make to do that. I get a bit, what's the word I'm looking for, OCD when it comes to wanting perfection and that sort of stuff, so I move pretty slowly in it. But it's about making the time, you know. At the moment, for myself, I'm focused on trying to do well in Aussie car, and it's really been consuming my time just trying to get better there, to the point where I haven't done an official race this season actually. But yeah, for SNL itself, I'd love to hit a 5K soft. We've been so close so many times. Really pleased and really grateful to the community that's getting behind it. Our last 2 seasons have been our best. We've averaged over 4,500 when it comes to softs, and nearly cracked the 5K a couple of times. So for mine, I don't necessarily want to conquer the world. I just want to continue to be relevant and for people to enjoy it for the most part. And as long as people turn up, you know, we'll try to be there.
So I'm looking at the doc now. We're about 3/4 of the way through, but we're almost at the hour mark already. And there's stuff on here I haven't even asked you yet. So I want to ask you quickly, Top Split Podcast. You're another podcaster. We finally had a podcaster on the on our podcast. What was it like creating that beast back in the day, and what did you get out of it?
Part of it, can I tell you, one of the big things it scratched is by way of itches to begin with was my geek itch. I wanted to explore the technology and get into it, and I saw, you know, the Joe Rogans of the world and other podcasts that I enjoy listening to, and I thought, you know what, I think iRacing was something that I was interested in, and I had stuff that I felt might be worth sharing even if nobody listened to, and my plan was that if I had, you know, 30 people listen to it, that was fine. It was just an outlet for stuff I had in my head, and I did it for a while, and I really enjoyed it, and I met and spoke to some really interesting and good people, and then I just found that I had nothing that I felt was meaningful to say anymore. So I just sort of stopped saying it and stopped doing it, you know, because I figured that when it comes to content, whether it be streaming or YouTube or podcasting, the key thing, the most critical thing is authenticity. It's putting yourself into it. And having something meaningful to say. And if I felt like I could be authentic in what I was doing, and that was fine. It was more about that I ran out of stuff that I wanted to say. But, you know, since then, you know, the stuff banks up, you know, and I've felt the urge a couple of times, but then I saw you guys come along, and I thought, you know, the one thing that would get me back doing anything like that was probably SNL and putting a bit of time into that. And for you guys to start building this network that you're doing and supporting the iRacing community in Australia is brilliant. So I thought, you know, if I could add a bit to that, then I'd sort of hop back in and do a bit more.
Definitely, your help is greatly appreciated. But let's get on to this friendship that's formed between Top Split Racing and Team Milo. Where'd that all begin?
I'm hard pressed to remember where it started. Well, Russell and I probably originally, we teamed up in a team we called Flying Hellfish Racing. And I think we set the tone for how Milo operates today, because in our first league race together, I punted him into the hairpin at Phillip Island. And, ever since then, well, we sort of moved away from that league. I think it was the Formula Renault 2 league when it first came out, and we sort of started doing different things. And then Team Milo appeared, and then
everywhere.
Yeah, and then you can see how they race together. Two Milo cars together is usually trouble. But
let alone four that we've got at the moment. Jeez.
Yeah, I know.
Let alone one. Seriously.
Yeah, and then I really wasn't. I wasn't really too fussed with teams and all that sort of stuff. And then AJ, Alex John, actually left Team Milo, and he said to me, "Oh, do you want to race?" Oh, it was an enduro or something. It might have been the Australasian Super Skips, which was a skippy league that ran for a while, and I said, yeah, cool, let's do that. And it's pretty casual between us, but the friendship that we've made over the years, whether it was with FNRC or official skippy racing, I used to stream my own races, and it was all skippy content, and we used to get together and we just sit in Discord and have an awesome time. I can't tell you how much fun we had last night in those last two laps. We were laughing and just giving each other crap, and it's just such a fun night to get the racing and the banter. You put it together and you just can't beat it.
Can I just ask, is Flying Hellfish Racing, that's not something from The Simpsons, is it?
It was absolutely.
Cool, brilliant.
So look, I 100% agree that the highlight of our, like, that look, I started Locked On Racing as a joke because we need to put a team name in for Aussie Car, and I thought it'd go nowhere. And then obviously with the podcast and our enduro we've grown it to where it is now, and that's the best part of it, is just hanging with people who are now friends, and before and after the race, and then even during the race when things go crazy. It is definitely one of the highlights, so I 100% agree with that. But the question we really want to know is it true that the pace comes from the beard or not?
Doesn't hurt. I'll tell you what, I don't know if you've seen Mr. Snell on his stream, but that is a sensational beard. It's just amazing. Yeah, look, I don't know. I've had guys as far off afield as Estonia comment about, I don't know, aerodynamic effect and things like that. But no, it's just a bit of fun. But I've got to tell you, the best thing I ever saw was, I don't know if you probably know, Ben Snell does drifting down in South Australia. And there was this video he posted at one point where it's shot from another car, but you just see this big smiling face appear, like, incredulously close to the car beside him, and this cheesy grin and this beautiful locks and beard flowing in the breeze out the window was bloody brilliant.
Nice. So you're now doing track videos as well. What's the biggest tip you'd give to drivers out there at the moment?
Oh, I don't know. I felt funny about that one, actually, putting that up. I feel like a bit of a fraud sticking that up there, to be honest. But
how many views have you had of that now?
I don't know. I haven't looked, to be honest. But
I'd say there'd be 500 and 600, 450 of them are Russell Clark. But anyway, let's go. What's your biggest tip?
Biggest tip. Look, something that Ira said, the shortest time between flag to flag. Be patient. Be really patient when you race, because even in the sprint race on an Aussie car race, whether it be the V's or the skips, the race will come to you. You can manufacture a mistake in someone rather than force a pass, and the patience to wait for an opportunity rather than compromise yourself and your overall time by trying to force something is the value in that is immeasurable. And first and foremost thing you got to do is stay on the track, finish the race. And that's, they're probably the things that I keep in mind most of all.
And if anyone needs any...
You hear that, Locked On Racing? Stay on the track.
I was going to say, if anyone needs any evidence of that, you just look at poor Tim and Brady from last night's race too. Although they looked like they were having an absolute blast, passing each other left, right and centre, they were losing 2-3 seconds a lap sometimes to Mitzi and myself just behind us, just because, they were having good fun and they were able to pass each other lots. But in terms of creating that overall minimal time for the whole race, it wasn't exactly optimal. Yeah,
and you look at
Brady was having a blast over.
You look at the V's race this week as well.
Yeah,
and I haven't nutted out the strategy there yet. Week 1, Cam and I stayed out, and he's quicker than me, so I just sat in behind him, and that was fine, right? The race this week, particularly the longer one, we were a second a lap slower. And it wasn't massive battles or anything, but it was enough to slow us down. But picking your time to pit and all this, it's a riddle I'm yet to crack. But I know that the racing in that, the raciness will cost you time.
Yeah, it definitely does. What's your favourite tracks to drive on?
Oh, so in the skips, Interlagos is brilliant in the skips in terms of being able to race. And I've described it in one of the broadcasts as a race there. It tells a story. You can set up an overtake at, I think it's turn 8 through a move at turn 3 kind of thing, right? And you can be side by side all the way through that section, and there's strategy throughout the lap there to really, and like I said, it can really tell a story there. I really love racing skips there. It's brilliant. That's probably my favourite. I can't go past Bathurst. I love racing anything at Bathurst, to be honest. We've done a lot of laps there in the group that I'm in as well. But that's probably my two favourites.
Obviously, iRacing is doing some pretty awesome things, but is there anything you wish you could change about iRacing?
Oh, yeah, I think iRating per car. I think the current system, and I know it's a common topic at different times, but I think the current system limits people, even just from a mindset perspective, from venturing out and exploring more of the content and more of the racing. Look, from a technical or a technology perspective, I don't think it would be that hard. I don't know their system and how it works, but the fact that they can easily stick up a dirt oval iRating and a they can separate it into 4 categories. I could stick a column in a database table and you've got an iRating per category. That I don't know if it's that simplistic, but that's how I see it.
And even now they're splitting their when an oval race goes to a road race, it counts for the road iRating anyway. So it's they're clearly able to do things. It could be done.
They've got to want to do it, I guess.
Is there a dream track or car or anything like that you'd like to see come?
Oh, maybe I'll refer back to Amaru Park, just for nostalgia purposes for mine. I can't imagine it's a great track to drive, but I'd just love to see it there.
Fair enough.
That's fair enough. Look, thank you so much for your time, Alex. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I could have talked for another hour, as I say with all the guests, but this is true. It's fascinating stuff. I really enjoyed it, especially more on the podcasting side of stuff, so we might have to touch base with you again in the future. However, is there anyone that you want to shout out? Anyone you want to thank? Anyone you want to mention? And Sunday Night Lights, where can people find that as well? Give us all the shout outs.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well, thanks to your good selves. Look, the job you guys are doing in the community at the moment and shining a light on things is brilliant. So, and as you said, I've podcasted before. I know, at least to some degree, the effort that goes in behind the scenes. So keep up the fantastic work. Shout out to the Aussie Car guys, of course, and Ira. you know, the creativity, I said in the interview this week, the creativity that he brings to keep it fresh, I didn't really appreciate even to the full extent till this season with the changes he's made, and it keeps you wanting to come back. So brilliant work to Ira and the team over there. You know, it's a top split team, and AJ, of course, and the Milo boys. Always love racing with you guys. It's a highlight of my week when we get to do it. But most of all, I want to shout out to the guys, the regulars in particular in the Sunday Night Lights community. I have chatted and spoken to many people across the globe through that experience, and it's been brilliant getting to know lots of people from across the world, see the similarities and the difference, see how they express themselves on the track and off, and the quality people that they are as well is brilliant. But the fact that they turn up to support this little thing that we do, and they make it the biggest thing in Skippy racing, Skippy official racing at least, each week is greatly appreciated. And like I said, if they keep turning up, so will we. So as we say, it's for the community, by the community, and that's the way we like it.
Definitely. And any advice to Chastity for beating you next week?
Patience. If it was the one thing I'd say to James, it would be, and I don't want to tell him how to race because, quite frankly, he's good at what he does, and like I said, I always feel like a fraud. But it would be, patience. Don't necessarily attack just because the gap's there. Wait for the right opportunity and play the long game.
And I just want to say, I want to call Jason Fewan's Hollywood on air. Any advice for him in his commentary career that's now taking off as well?
Yeah,
Mr.
I think it's brilliant that he's got in and given up his seat to do it, you know. I read a really great article. I can't remember if it was Jake Sperry because the article's disappeared now. And he talked about commentary in broadcasts, and it was, you know, telling a story. It was allowing there to be light and shade, if that makes sense. Letting the story of the race build to a crescendo and then to its climax sort of thing. So just you know, thank him for getting in and, like I say, giving up his seat, and then just be patient with yourself and learn the craft, because it is a craft, and I'm no expert at it for sure, but it's fun doing it.
I think Sperry did a great job of building to a crescendo in Aussie Cars on Thursday night, and it was amazing to have him on broadcasting us. So thank you, Sperry, if you're listening, and I know you do sometimes. So thank you. Look, Alex, thank you so much, mate. It's been an absolute legend. You've been an absolute legend. I just quickly want to say, Braden, do you want to give a quick shout out to where people can find you?
Yeah, so as always, I'll probably not, but I'll try my best to do a little stream over the weekend or something. So you can catch that at twitch.tv/the1dwade. And if you want to see me probably crying after tomorrow afternoon's football, knowing that I'm going to have to listen to Tim Corn tell me how much better Sydney is than Port, then head over to Twitter at Braden Talks.
So have you already paid off your bet in advance by punting a Molo car, or you got to do it again?
Yeah, so that's funny. I forgot about that. I do have to catch up with Tim though. I think we do have to have some kind of wager. It's only fair.
Yes, you do, definitely. Look, you can find myself and all our content on Locked On Lads on Twitch. You can find all our podcasts are now slowly going up on Locked On Lads YT on YouTube. So we do premiere every episode live, interviews on Sunday at around 7:30. I'll follow the socials and you'll find out. And we're sort of trying to find the sweet spot for the news and results podcast on a Wednesday night. You're probably going to end up being around 8:30 anyway, even though I'll be racing probably afterwards. But the other episodes are slowly going up, the old episodes. So if you are following the YouTube channel, that's what's going on. We're just slowly putting the old episodes back up. Once we're caught up, it'll be normal. Locked On Lads on Facebook. LockedOnLads.com/Discord. Jump in our Discord. There's a really good amount of fun going on there at the moment. So definitely jump in. I'm about to jump in and do some hunting with the boys, so it's going to be really good fun. But they're the main places you can find all our content. Also, thank you to all those people who've actually reached out in the last couple of days, last probably 48 hours about sponsoring the podcast. It's been overwhelming that I threw out a little line last episode and it's bared so much fruit already. So thank you to all those people who are willing to support us in what we're doing. Thank you, Alex, for helping us out with SNL and everything else that you've been helping us out with, and just being a good ear to chat with about certain things as well. And yeah, one last question before we do 100% wrap this up, Alex. Is there anyone you want to see on the podcast next?
Yeah, look, I've heard you ask that question before, and I didn't ever think about it. Can I make a suggestion? Nimcross Jr., the chief steward of iRacing, I chatted to him. He's very approachable. He's a really good guy, and I think what he has to tell about the protesting system and how it works and educating around that is really, really helpful to the drivers out there as much as anything, and he'd be my recommendation.
Sweet, that does sound extremely interesting. We have just put that down, and we will reach out as soon as we can. So thank you, Alex, for your time, and we will see you next Thursday night, or probably in the practice session between now and then for Le Mans.
Absolutely.
Have a good one,
Thank
mate,
you.
and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, mate.
Bye.